I want to give a big shout out here before we get started, and a thank you to Brian Holt. Without him, this review wouldn't be possible. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Prodigy from Kilo 23. I'm really excited to make this video. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Today we're going to check out what's called the Arcturus Centaur B. Arcturus is a brand new company on the airsoft market. I'm hoping they'll be out pretty soon. They're actually located right here, believe it or not, in Cheney, Washington. So it's like they're right here where I'm going to school. It's really cool. I wish I knew exactly where they were. I'd love to tour their place. I really think this is one of the most unique AKs I've ever had the pleasure of reviewing. I hope you guys think so too, because this thing is cool. It's nice and fairly balanced. It's got a good weight to it, and I love the feel holding it. So let's dive right in. Now, before we get into the gun, we're actually gonna, of course, check out everything it comes with. So it does come in a decent box, a cardboard box, foam inserts, nothing too special, but it is well protected. Now, the gun being kind of a higher end gun does not come with a charger and battery, so those things you probably should have on hand as it is, but if you don't, you can go pick them up. They're not terribly expensive. The gun does come with a cleaning rod appropriate for the barrel length, an orange tip as well as the black tip that's on the gun already, and I'll kind of touch on that later. It's just a plastic, pretty basic one. Comes with 2 magazines. One is a high cap. I believe it holds probably right around 500 rounds, give or take. This feeds pretty well from my testing of it so far, and one is a variable capacity mid cap. I think these are a great idea. I'd love to see more of these in the market, and I'm hoping that I can see these, grab these individually pretty soon, because they're really neat actually. It does have a little follower on top here, so it's going to feed every last BB. And what's really cool is, like I said, it's a variable capacity, so it'll either hold 30 or 130 rounds depending on how you want to adjust it. So I'm going to go over that and how to switch that out in a second here too. Converting the magazine over to the 30 round mode is pretty simple. Take a punch, or even your finger just sticking it in there. It's pretty easy. Push that in, slide a little plate down there, and the entire internal structure of the magazine will come out. Switching the dial from left to right will switch it from 30 to 130 rounds. So just like that, you can go from a 30 round to a 130 round mid-cap mag. So the Arcturus Centaur B, they make a handful of guns. Right now, as of filming this, these aren't on the market quite yet. They make 5 different models. The other 4 are M4 models pretty much, more or less, and this is the one AK they make. So just right off the bat, it's really solid. I love the feel. Really balanced. The entire gun is constructed of pretty much 3 materials: nylon polymer, which is going to be the stock, the grip, and the flip-up sights, which it does come with, and we'll go over those shortly. Stamped steel, which is going to be the lower, and a handful of other parts like the charging handle, the selector, and the aluminum upper. Big one-piece upper, really cool. You've got a long monolithic rail minus this little gap right here, but it's still a one-piece aluminum upper. So really solid, really nice finish on it. I like how just thin the gun is, considering, despite the fact that it's a little taller. But we're going to start with the stock and move our way forward with the gun. The stock is very reminiscent of the ACR stock. So this is a 6-position stock, shortest one all the way in, longest all the way out. And it's got a pretty good distance of travel for adjustment, so I really like that. I like to leave it at the 2nd position. That's most comfortable for me in general. The stock does have an adjustable cheek rest. You pull this back, up, and forward to lock it in place. Gives it maybe a ½ an inch extra to your cheek. I still like to leave it down. That just makes the most sense to me, and I'm pretty happy with it. The stock does fold as well, which is kind of a nice feature. I wouldn't really use it for gameplay per se, but for storage, it's kind of a nice feature. Button you can press on the side. It doesn't actually clip into anything, so it's just kind of a good tension per se. It's not going to flip open really easily, so you can rattle it around, and it's not going to just go flying back to its original position. What else is cool about the stock is it does have a QD sling detachable point, which you can shift to either side by removing the screw and implanting it on either side. I've got it on the left side because I'm a righty, just makes sense for me. And on the opposite side, you've got a steel sling loop here, which is really solid. Moving up the gun a little bit, the pistol grip is reminiscent of some other brands out there, might look really familiar to you. Ribbing on the front and back. I wish it had texture on the sides. It kind of adds something to it, but I do like how comfortable it is. It really feels good to me compared to other AK grips. The selector has a little notch here where you can just kind of pop it up and down. with just your right index finger. So it's kind of a plus there. You know, a lot of newer, more modern guns kind of have an ambi selector or a left or right selector. This having just a right slide selector, this is a good kind of update for it. So people that are right-handed like myself can just do it with their index finger pretty simply, considering. Sights on this gun are flip up, and like I said, they are included with it. Pretty simple. You press down on the switch and they pop up. But the front is adjustable for elevation. The rear will have 2 peep apertures, your small and your large. I kind of like the small one personally, and it works really well for me. And it's also adjustable for windage as well. Just like any AK, magazine rocks in place. These sit pretty solidly. I like how they fit, but I will tell you, this gun is a little picky about magazines. I've only got a handful of brands to try here, so let's give a few a shot. First, this is an Echo 1 waffle mag, came with my AK-700. I've got a couple of these. These seem to fit pretty well considering. Rock a little bit more than the original. I've noticed they feed fairly well. Next is this is the Dogs of War mid-cap from Echo 1. I've got 7 of these still working. These unfortunately do not fit terribly well. I've tried to modify the mag. I don't want to work on the gun trying to modify it at all. These don't fit, unfortunately, but I haven't seen a whole lot of those around on the field, so it's probably not a big deal. Lastly, the last remaining magazine I actually have here in Cheney with me is a Lancer Tactical Flash Mag. I was really happy this fit fairly well. Normally you like to hear a little click on the selector when it pops in, so it just really fits well. But unfortunately, the only ones that actually click in really well are the original mags that it comes with. This one fits and feeds fairly well, and it really doesn't wobble a whole lot. So I'm pretty happy with that. So it seems like it fits a decent number of magazines out there. I've noticed like a lot of more recent AKs to hit the market is a little more picky about magazines, so you'll just have to be aware of that when you're picking up mags. Maybe go try Buddy's magazines, whatever brand they are, and see if they fit and try those. Moving up the gun, we do have an M-LOK compatible handguard here. Just the lower section of it is compatible, so you can put your M-LOK rails on the sides if you want to. Any of the accessories will work just fine. You'll notice there is a rail on the bottom, roughly a foot long or so, and you got the nice long rail on top. So fantastic, I love that. The flash hider it comes with is really pretty unique looking. I love the 4-prong design with kind of the compensator ports on the sides. Pretty unique looking. I'm going to leave this on here. I had a suppressor on it earlier. You guys might have seen the pictures on Facebook I put up. I'm going to leave the flash hider. I think it looks really unique. You guys are probably wondering, okay, you skipped over 2 things. The hop up and how do you put the battery in? The hop up is not terribly different from anything else. Any other AK, Marui, Saima, doesn't matter. This one, you can adjust it. It's a little lever or bar you pull front and back. Farther forward, it's off. Farther back, your hop up's more on. And nice sound behind the charging handle too. Now, to remove the battery, this part is a little more intense. So what we're going to do is there are 2 pins holding the entire gun together. This pin right here and the middle pin on the stock. So we're going to punch those out here. With those pins out, the entire lower will actually slide forward and lift off from the upper. So your upper is essentially your stock and an empty shell for your upper. You can set that aside, and you're going to have your inner barrel, outer barrel, gearbox, and lower. Little Tamiya connector here, so its battery's going to sit right above the gearbox. Really simple design. You got a lot of room in the top here, so if you've got like a stick battery or something along those lines, got another inch or so in there that the battery will fit just fine. So for instance, I've got a little 7.4 stick, and I've got plenty of room up here, like the entire length of the gearbox. So tons of room for a 9.6 stick battery, 11.1, 7.4. Reassembly is literally the opposite. Make sure the 2 rails in the front line up. Yeah, it just takes a little finagling, and everything slides right back into place. Then you just pop your 2 pins back in. All right, now with the externals out of the way, let's go ahead and open the gun up and check out what's inside of it. All right, we've got our Arcturus Centaur B open. We're going to start with the hop up and then move on to the gearbox after that. The hop-up is a 1-piece metal hop-up. Really nice, solid, adjustable arm here. It is a 1-piece. little nub here, so it's not like some of the older designs. There's a little screw-in piece that you have to take out. So kind of a plus there for me because those screws are rather difficult to get back in sometimes. It stays in place pretty well. You can probably tighten the screw down if you want it to be a little more solid and tight though. Now the barrel is something I was actually really curious about. You can read all the specs on the gun on Team Black Sheep's forum online. I'll post a link down in the bottom for that. But the barrel is supposed to be, I'll read this word for word off the specs, PCP grade extreme precision full steel inner barrel with QPQ processing. That's a mouthful. Essentially, it's a steel barrel with a really nice finish on it, and it's supposed to be a 601, but it also has in parentheses next to it plus or minus 0.01. So it could be as loose as 6.02 or as tight as 6.00 millimeters. So it's a really surprisingly tight barrel for a stock gun. It's your standard AK length at about 455 millimeters, and you do get a long spring here to keep the hop up and barrel really tight against the front of the gearbox. Now the externals of the gun are already super solid, but the gearbox, at least from the specs listing, is supposed to be really awesome as well. So let's go ahead and open that up here. You can see from the outside, it does have 8mm bushings and one set of bearings in there on the bevel gear. It's kind of a neat design. I've seen it before in a couple of other companies, so it works pretty well. Uses their electronic trigger switch. Really simple micro switch. You can see when you actually pull the trigger, it moves this little arm here and actuates a little button on the side of it. Something I really like about the gearbox shell is the fact that the front and the back are both radiused right when you get it already. It saves me a little bit of work. You can see on the other side of the gun here, it does have the spring tension release here. It's a little lever. This little bottom of the lever is visible from the underside of the gun, and you can press it upward, which in turn will actually release the anti-reversal latch and decycle your gun. It can take some stress off of things if you're going to leave it sitting for a while. Finally, the gearbox does have a quick change spring system. Take the spring out. It's a fairly short spring considering, but it feels like it's about a 110 roughly power. All right, let's go ahead and pop the gearbox open here. Let's get some shims in there. I'll try to retain those. But I'll probably end up re-shimming it, but we'll check the shimming here in just a second to see how that is. And you can hear all those trains in the background here. How wonderful. Normally you can just slide this, there we go. Slide the micro switch right out there. I think it's also worth pointing out that the gearbox shell is made of a die-cast zinc material. And we do have steel gears in here. Have a sector delayer, sector chip, which is kind of nice. Nice touch. A couple bucks it saves me there. There's a little bit of grease on the gears. It's in the right places. It'll do just fine for a while. And there's not a ton of it, but there's a decent amount. Let's go ahead and check the shimming on this guy. You can just play with the gear height here. It's got quite a bit of play in most gears. The spur gear is about okay. I feel like the sector could use a little refinement there. Could probably refine the height on the bevel gear a bit there too. It seems a little too loose, but it's a matter of opinion, to be honest. As far as gear heights go, looks like the height on the gears is actually rather good. So that's really nice. Could probably use a little bit of refinement in the shimming, but really not a whole lot. So out of the box, it'll probably last you quite a while. Now we can move on to the air compression system. So we got the tappet plate here. Take that off and we'll leave the spring on it. It's a little flexible. It's pretty standard, nothing too special. You've got your copper cylinder, piston head, with looks like bearings in there. Metal steel tooth rack. Second to last tooth is removed. So if you like to correct AOE with this, with a sorbo pad or whatever you like to do, it's a little easier since you don't have to shave down that very last tooth there. You can just shave down like half of this one and you're probably good. So this one looks really nice, actually. Has some speed cuts in there, so it's kind of cool. Your nozzle, pretty standard V3. It's like a triangular cutout in the front there. Cylinder's a Type 0, no ports on it. Cylinder head, pretty standard. nylon, one O-ring. Sits in there pretty snugly, so we're good there. I'm gonna check the air seal here and see how it comes out. Could probably put some Teflon tape on that cylinder head and hold it in place a little better. Air seal's decent. When you put some more pressure against it, I've noticed it really holds better, but it actually gets a rather good air seal. Keep in mind, this is a pre-production sample. These aren't quite on the market yet. They probably will be very soon. So some things are subject to change. It wouldn't surprise me if they swap out the gears or something along those lines. I'll tell you guys, after opening the gun up, doing the basic tuning on it and everything, I'm really pleased with the gun. I think it's a solid gun. I'm hoping it hits the market really soon because I think it's going to be a great contender to other companies as far as the AK pattern goes. Same with their M4s. So this gun, I love how it sounds. I love the feel. It's just about as unique as AKs get. And I'm really happy to have actually gotten one to check out. Now, I do have to give the gun a grade. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. There's some small things I would change, but this thing is solid, and I'm really pleased with it. I'm really excited to take it out on the airsoft field and see how well it does. The gun, as a whole, I'm really impressed with. Definitely when they're on the market, I highly recommend you guys go check these out. These are going to be a really hot ticket item. Don't forget to go check out Brian Holt's page on Team Black Sheep. I'll put links in the description to both his video review on this, his videos on the other Arcturus guns, and links to his blog as well, covering the internals on this guy and the other Arcturus products. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Prodigy from Kilo 23. I can't wait to take this out on the field, and I'm going to get some great gameplay footage for you guys. Take it easy.